Hey y'all, so today's video is going to be a rant, and it's going to be, well, let's just say if you've gotten me to copy and paste this video and send it to you, this is your response for the holster you've asked me about. I've gotten asked a bunch of times by people in person and online my thoughts on generic cheap nylon holster. Now, of course, they'll usually have a holster in mind and they'll ask me about it, and they either sold it at Walmart, and sometimes they're new carriers, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're people that have been carrying for a long time and just are stuck in the rut of not buying decent holsters, and you know who you are. So this is my rant slash informative video explaining my thoughts on cheap nylon holsters, why they suck, why you shouldn't buy them, and why you need to stop being a cheap bastard and buy a real holster. Oh, I guess I should put the disclaimer in that this video won't be entirely PC. We're not going to go full on rageaholic rage, but we're not going to have it be PC. We're going to start out with these things are just too damn big and bulky. And to show here, right now, this holster here, we're going to use this Uncle Mike's because it's all I have, and it's gonna really prove my point great, because what gun we're going to use is this little tiny 14-ounce Smith & Wesson J-frame 638, right? One of my favorite carry guns, as you can see from it being a little beat up and roughed up, that it has seen some miles on my person, and I love it. Also happens to be the only Smith that I haven't sent back yet. We'll get into that later. But so we're going to use that gun, and we're going to use this holster, and we're going to try and prove some points. And the first thing that I want to show is they're too big and they're too bulky for their own good. Now, first we're going to show the material, right? Now, nylon's pretty thick. It's thicker than leather, and it's way thicker than Kydex. And it's only, you might say, oh, well, it's only a little bit thicker. It's maybe only double the thickness, right? And actually we can see here. So we've got the edge of the holster where the two the two ends of the fold meet, right? About a 1/4 inch thick, right? Or actually it's about a 1/2 inch. Yep, about a 1/2 inch thick right there. Now you have a leather holster here. Right? Measure that. It's about a 1/4 inch. So it's double the thickness. And you might think, okay, well, that's not that big a deal, except for the fact that you're already adding, you're concealing a gun. Concealing guns can be difficult depending upon the weather and how you're carrying. So you're already at a disadvantage right there, because your holster material is double the thickness of everything else, and that's at a minimum. Again, Kydex is thinner than leather, and you might be almost triple the thickness. But let's show it on the belt, shall we? Here's what I want to get at with this thickness concept. Now here's something I want to show as I'm putting it on my belt, and something I noticed, right? Alright, so you've got these little belt loops here. Now it's a core belt, right? This is a decent heavy duty, not really heavy duty, but this real good supportive belt, okay? Like, as you can see, when I hold onto it, like, it doesn't go nowhere. It's reinforced, right? So I try and put this through my belt, and you can't actually get the belt through the belt loops here, right? Now I'm trying to cram it through, and I guess if I really forced it, it would go, but then you risk breaking the plastic. So that's something I want to show here, and then I'm trying to put the belt on. Alright, here we go. We've got it through the belt loop. I'm going to put it on, and now I'm talking to try and not have dead air. That's because I don't feel like stopping and starting the video again. Alright, there we go. Holster is on my person, right? Let's take the gun. We're going to stick the gun in. Do the flimsy little button snap thing. Yes, I know it's adjustable. No, I'm not going to the trouble to adjusting it, right? Alright, so we've got the gun on our belt. Now, you notice anything annoying here about this, right? Kind of sticks out a good bit, doesn't it? And keep in mind, this is a little J-frame, right? So this is a pocket revolver. This is something that I keep in my pocket in the summertime, right? Now I cover it up, you'll notice kind of a big bulge, right? Definitely not what you expect for something that can fit in your pocket. And this is my belt all cinched up, right? Gun's not even loaded, so it's got best case scenario for how much weight it's trying to support, but it's pretty bad. I mean, when I pull tight, you'll notice, here's the other thing you'll notice, right? When I pull my shirt tight, you know what you're seeing a lot of? You're seeing a lot of the holster, like right here, right? You're seeing the holster. Now up here is, again, the holster. The gun is right along here. But you'll notice, again, see how it's like tilting outward? Because the holster material is thin and flexible, it doesn't support the gun. All right, so the gun is not only is the holster bulky, but because it's not supporting the gun, it's basically creating worst case scenario for concealment. Now I want to try one thing here. I'm going to change one thing about what I'm doing right now, and we'll see if we can make it a little better concealed, shall we? Alright, so all I did was change one thing, and I think I improved it, right? Now you can see it really doesn't print that bad anymore, right? I guess maybe, occasionally the little bit, but it pretty much disappears, and this is just a t-shirt. So can you guess the one change I made to make this all work and make I conceal it? Alright, you give up? Well, here you go. I switched to a full-size Colt 1911 Government Delta Elite, and I put it in a real holster. So right there you just saw side by side, or I guess one after another, the difference between a good quality leather holster versus this crap right here, this junk. A good decent holster can conceal the biggest of guns compared to what a junk holster fails at. So let's go back up to the table, shall we? Alright, so now that we showed what it looks like on the belt and how badly it conceals, let's talk about the quality of these holsters, right? And again, I'm using an Uncle Mike's here because it's what I have, but all these nylon holsters pretty much fall into the same category, probably because they're all made in the same factory. But let's take a look at it, alright? So here we have the back of this holster, right? And yes, I'm sure someone's going to say, oh, it doesn't fit all the way. Well, I didn't stick it in all the way because, I just stuck it back in for the video. But you'll notice this is how the belt, or how the holster attaches to your belt. And see how this little piece of plastic, how it's already kind of white here along the edges? That's because the plastic has already been stressed. Because as you put it through your belt, you have to like stretch it out. And that's putting stress on this cheap little plastic. And I actually used to have one of these. Again, I got one from buying a used gun off of somebody. And they had one of these Uncle Mike's. And this back piece was actually cracked out. And that's not something you want when you're looking at a holster you're considering using for anything. Now you might say, oh, well, I'm just going to use this at the range. And I would say that maybe at the range it works because, if you're open carrying, it's not that big a deal. But I'm sorry, I don't care where I am. Having my gun fall, holstering gun fall off my belt and drop out, onto the ground or wherever I am. And, at the range, maybe it's not as bad, but certainly if you're in public, that's going to create some problems, possibly damaging the gun, possibly having to, you might create a scare if, someone is a particularly snowflake mood that day, and then you might have to explain yourself to people and, probably the police. So that's not something you want. The other thing here is see how this is all Velcro, right? This is meant to be adjustable. They make these, like this is size 1, right? They make these holsters. The reason why it's just like this generic shape is so that they can produce a bunch of the same holster, and it'll fit a wide variety of guns, and you kind of adjust the Velcro and make it work right. I don't like Velcro on holsters. There's one kind of holster I like Velcro on, and that's an ankle holster, right? Because, you can Velcro it around your ankle. Other than that, I don't like Velcro on holsters. Velcro is loud, Velcro is annoying, and Velcro shifts and moves, and it's just, no. So, that's another problem with these holsters is the build quality of them is just appalling. You get what you pay for. You're paying $10 at Walmart for a cheap junk holster versus, there's a reason why these holsters, this is a DeSantis holster for a Smith & Wesson L-frame, right? There's a reason why these are 50 to 60, and then, if you want really nice, up to $100 a piece, because there's craftsmanship put into them. Because, as I was talking about the cheap way they're mounted to your belt, right? You'll see here how this holster is mounted to your belt, right? It's molded and it's cut for your belt, and they're stitching all the way around, right? So it's reinforced and it supports the gun. Whereas you've got something like this, which is just a cheap, flimsy, plasticky thing, right? Let's go over another reason why these holsters are bad, and that is they're ugly. They're just plain ugly. Like, I'm sorry, but I have never seen someone, um, carrying one of these. You very rarely see people carrying them, because usually someone carries the gun and for a day with this holster realizes it's garbage and then doesn't carry it anymore. But they're just plain ugly. I mean, I'm sorry, like, this does not scream quality. This does not see, whether you want to have the look of a classic fine leather holster, or you want to have, tactical cool kydex or whatever. Guess what? Nobody's proud to represent the nylon holster. I've got many leather holsters that are beautiful works of art, and I've got kydex holsters that are clean and efficient. This is none of that, right? I'm sorry, but they're just ugly as hell. That's probably a personal thing, because I'm sure people will tell me, oh, well, as long as it does the job, it's fine. Well, guess what? To me, if I'm gonna put a $5, $6, $700 gun in a holster and carry it around, I'd like to, have it in something that I can be proud of, carrying it in. This, not so much. And I guess, okay, the final thing about these holsters and why they're junk is everything kind of pouring all the reasons into one big dumpster fire, one final hurrah, is they're uncomfortable as hell. Between being too big and bulky and riding on your hip, between the fact that the holster doesn't support the gun, because it doesn't support the gun, it pulls on your belt, which pulls on you, which will bother your hip, will bother you as you walk along, because they're designed to fit a wide variety of guns. They fit no one gun perfectly, and when a gun doesn't fit in a holster perfectly, you get movement. And when you get movement of your gun in your holster, it does two things. It'll, one, wear your finish, which some people worry about, some don't. But the more important thing is that weight shifting around on your hip is what's making it uncomfortable to wear the gun. The biggest thing you'll hear from anybody that long terms carries, and me who carries particularly heavy guns, I just showed my Delta Elite on my hip. Guess what? That's my current carry gun. I can carry that for 8 hours at a time, no problem, because the holster fits the gun, the belt fits the holster, and everything fits and works as one to support the gun and make it a comfortable carry. This will do none of that. I can't stress enough, these people I see all the time, they buy these cheap holsters, and, you'll get, oh, well, I went hunting one time and I put that on my belt and it was fine. Great. Like I said, I guess at the range or maybe hunting, they might work as a quick, gotta have something right now holster, but long term, there's a reason why, I can go to gun shows and see bins of them for $5 a pop, with a little bit of use in them, and nobody wants them because they're junk. So that's my rant on why I think they're garbage. Like I said, if I've sent this video to you, this is my answer to if I think you should get a cheap nylon holster, regardless of what brand it is. And yeah, if you have any questions or want to tell me all about that one time you went hunting and you carried that nylon holster for 8 hours and it was no issue at all, or you've been carrying for the last 20 years and you've had your 1911 in a cheap Uncle Mike's, well, go right ahead, and I want to hear all about it. But other than that, have a good day.